Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Solo Spotlight. I'm your host, Ryan McDougall, and today's guest is Jon Morgan. Jon has spent 18 years inside Edmonton Transit Service from bus to dispatch to LRT control, plus community league builder and street level volunteer. In this municipal election, he is running in Ward ih-PEE-koo-kah-nih-bee-OW-tsee. Sorry if I mispronounced that. It is a hard one to pronounce. In the episode, he will pronounce it properly. We sit down and talk about what's going on in the South End, what's the challenges that he's seeing from his residents of his ward through door knocking and community league events. And we break down his platform of what he plans to champion if he gets elected in office. Before we start with this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow for more conversations like this. Your support helps keep this channel as well as Solo Spotlight alive and running. As well, after the episode, drop a comment. Let us know what was the highlight of this conversation. Or if you're living in the South End, what are some things that you would like to see change in this ward? Without further ado, here's my guest, Jon Morgan. All right. Welcome, everybody. Solo Spotlight, another episode, another day. I'm here with Jon Morgan. He is running for city council. You're going to have to pronounce the ward because I cannot pronounce the ward.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I am running in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi. So
Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi.
you almost got it. Just
There.
that Pewtsy at the end.
Pewtsy. There we
Yeah.
go.
So Ippy, like I don't know, Ippy, and then Kokanee, like the beer,
Yeah.
and then Pewtsy.
Pewtsy.
Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You come from a background of a lot of, community serving jobs and roles. I'm really happy to have you on here and talk about your platform, what your plan is, how your campaigning's going, and kind of what have been your takeaways. But to get started, I'd like to ask you to let the audience know, for anybody that hasn't met you before or hasn't seen your campaign, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? Well, so I'll give you a little background, I guess,
Sure.
on who I
Yeah.
am. So I've been a city employee for the last 18 years with Edmonton Transit. I started off as a bus driver, much like many in the transit industry, and kind of worked my way through the system. So I've been a dispatcher, I've been an inspector. I currently sit in the control center for the LRT,
Okay.
and work as an LRT control superintendent. So I get to play with the biggest train set in the city all day long, and move people. So what could be better than that? So I live in the south side where I'm running in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi, in the community of Rutherford. I was the community league president there for Heritage Point, serving the communities of Rutherford and McEwen. I did that for about 5 years, just stepping down in January here to run for city council. And I was also on the board of the Edmonton Federation of Community Leagues as well, and representing all of the leagues in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi, right from and beyond, actually, all the way up to Royal Gardens, kind of by White Mud, and then all the way down to the brand new Community League Allard and in that section of town. So, and actually, funny enough, before moving to the south side, I lived on the north side. I was president of Montrose Community League as well. So I've been pretty involved in community leagues for a long time, serving my community, building infrastructure. We built a playground up on the north side. Right now, we are in the final stages of building an ice rink
Oh, wow.
in Rutherford, actually. So, but putting on events, advocating for our neighbors, connecting our neighbors with representatives from city council and our MLA and our MP, and making sure that the voices of our community are heard. So I've been doing that for a while. I've been coaching soccer in that area. I was on the board of my kids' school council there too, Johnny Bright. Again, stepping down just this past fall, actually. And what else can I say? I've been just again serving wherever I can, while also doing some street outreach as well with local groups what I like about doing some of that stuff, outside of my professional career, is being able to, just what I really like about like community leagues and the street outreach work that I was doing with Group Water Warriors. It's just that like just the ground level, um, just very like what can you do, right? And
Hmm.
so like I'm not a project manager, so building a rink is not my forte. I'm not a social worker. Being out there on the streets and doing outreach is not something I've been particularly trained for. But what can I do, right? And so I can
Hmm.
lead. I can build connections. I can humanize people on the streets. I can give a sandwich if I can't house somebody or
And find someone that can.
but yeah, exactly. But if I can't find the big solutions, at least I can make those connections,
Yeah.
and that's really important to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, when you talk about a community league, that sounds like it's almost the next, like the next rung in the like. If you look at rungs in the ladder, it's like community engagement and being like part of that like community league. That's kind of the next closest connection to like a city councilor, or would there be like a lot of separation there?
So I kind of look at community leagues as the most pure form of democracy. Like anybody can get on there. I actually ran for city council in 2021 against our current councilor in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi. Obviously, I lost, but what I said to myself and anybody that would listen was that there are lots of ways to serve your community. I don't need to be an MLA or an MP or a city councilor or mayor, any of those things, right? I can still do things in my community to serve people. So as I said, I went back. I was president before at Heritage Point, as before 2021's election. I just went back to doing it, right. And so,
Hmm.
and this again, just serving the communities. And community leagues are very unique to Edmonton. I don't know how much you know about community leagues, but
No.
they are.
If you could give us just a little bit of deep dive, because
Yeah,
from all the people that I've talked to, you don't hear community leagues a lot, and I think that's I think that's pretty interesting because it's somewhere where someone could get started if they're looking to engage with their community, they're looking to do anything in that nature and jump into some public serving role, which kind of has a small barrier to entry, as you kind of alluded to.
absolutely. Well, it teaches you governance. I'll go into what a
Sure.
community league is, but it teaches you governance, gets you advocating for yourself, for your neighbors. Really gives some strength to a community, to a neighborhood, to a group of people that otherwise may not feel as heard as they would like. So community leagues have been around for over 100 years in Edmonton, and again, they're pretty unique. The established order of community leagues have been pretty unique to Edmonton, and there's community groups and stuff in other cities and such, but the way we organize it is pretty unique and pretty special to Edmonton. So anybody can join. They are within a defined boundary within a community, an area. My community league represents I would say about 5 to 7,000 people
Okay.
between Rutherford and McEwen. Don't quote me on those numbers,
And it's like
but
and to give comparison or perspective, that's an award that has what, just under 100,000?
I would say about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, right. And
Okay.
so
So then it's like little bit of like pockets of community leagues.
yeah, so almost every neighborhood. There's a couple areas because we are on the outskirts of Edmonton. There are a couple of areas in my ward that don't have representation with community leagues yet. At least aren't able to say they're part of a community league. The residents can still be associate members, but anyway, I'm getting a little
Yeah.
bit in the
Yeah.
weeds here. But um, yeah, I mean, the community leagues are empowered to build infrastructure in their neighborhoods after the fact, and we build infrastructure based on what the community wants. So years ago, speaking of that ice rink that we're building now, years ago we did the community league before my time actually did a needs assessment and outreach to the community and said these are some of the options that we can build. We can build a hall or an ice rink or a skate park or spray park, something like that, right? And so in the community overwhelmingly asked for an ice rink in that area.
Mhm.
So then we started fundraising and being a part of a league and organized in that way gives us that power to be able to work with the city, work with other external partners, and fundraise and kind of work through the process of building
Mhm.
infrastructure that is needed, right? And so there's a lot of value to that. I mean, we're all volunteers. As I said, I'm not it's not particularly my forte. I'm an operations guy with the city. I'm not a project manager. I'm not
Right.
in construction, any of that stuff, right? The value is in the people that are dedicated to the work there and giving their time for their neighbors. So,
How does that differentiate from like, or not even where's the where's like the connection between that and like an HOA?
so an HOA is a once you're in it, it's an ascent like it's a you have to pay for it. You have to be
Right.
in it. It's established by the builders
Right.
typically. And they have set things that they're
Because
responsible
they
for.
also want to build. They could also be, you
Well,
know,
they have so in my neighborhood, I'm part of an HOA too. I'm a member of the West Rutherford HOA,
right.
and so they have very specific things that they can put their money into based on their mandate, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so they're in charge of the fences in my community, and this differs from HOA to HOA, but
Mhm.
they're in charge of the fences, they're in charge of the fountains in the storm ponds, and lighting actually at the entrances, and that's pretty much it. They do have a responsibility to serve, and they've actually contributed to the ice rink build as well, so that
Mhm.
was really nice and generous of them. But they are kind of set in with what they're allowed to do. And again, that differs from
Mhm.
each HOA.
Right.
So the beauty of a community league is that it's by choice.
Right.
And so you actually you choose to be part of it. You choose to give your time to it.
You're not forced.
You're not forced. And honestly, you give what you can, and you also can and kind of do what you can for it, right? So people lots of different interests come into that league and have different things. Myself, again, I've done some outreach work on the streets. Back in 2021 during COVID, I was pretty concerned about water
Mm.
access, right? And so I was able to rally the community league, apart from all the other stuff that we're responsible for, rally
Mhm.
to get do some water donations as well, and kind of do some of that stuff, some harm reduction as well, some harm
Right.
reduction training, stuff like that, right? And different people bring different perspectives, different ideas, things where they want to take the league. Again, with kind of the idea that we're still serving the community.
Have you seen any fluctuations in terms of membership, or kind of has it gone up? Has it gone down in terms of engagement level, age groups, demographics?
So a big thing for community leagues, at least in my area, anyways, is soccer.
Mm.
And my
World's
oldest
most popular sport.
Well, it's the king of sports, right? And
Yeah.
so, the my oldest actually still plays club soccer, and part of the registration process is buying a community league membership and working with the community leagues. Community leagues actually run the registration for all the community soccer, typically, and so as communities age. We're still at a fairly young age in Rutherford, McEwen area and Heritage Point, and much of the south of the Henday. But as communities age, you'll see some of that fluctuation, I think,
Hmm.
because of
Yeah.
people see themselves, if they don't see themselves in the community league, they don't necessarily participate, right? And so
Right.
part of what I was doing with community leagues, actually, with my time in Heritage Point, was finding where we were not serving.
Hmm.
A big thing was seniors, and
Right.
so it's a fairly young community, but there were seniors still in the neighborhood, right? But we're also fairly young board, and so just kind of realizing we do, what don't we know, like what don't we
Right.
know, and where can what's the missing components there,
Right.
right?
We might
So
be getting too young.
yeah,
Yeah. Worried about and not kind of considering other factors in that population.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
and seniors should be a part of the equation too, right?
Hmm.
And so but if they don't see themselves in the program that we do, you don't see the membership joining either, and then people go elsewhere for stuff. So
That's interesting because it really kind of bridges the gap in terms of starting to have that foundational knowledge, or even having those soft skills to communicate with people and find out what people need, and being able to triage that. Because I what I ask everybody coming on as a candidate is, what is, you're faced with two right answers. What's the process in choosing which one is going to get chosen over the other? Right. And it's really interesting because the more you refine these processes, the better ideas are going to come forward, and then it's going to be up to like a collective group of people to decide. And it's like, well, at this point, regardless, you're going to piss someone off.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you bridge that gap? And it's all about the communication, right? And being able to give context and explain and take it, be like graceful about it. But I want to get into your campaign that you ran in 2021 because it says a lot about your resilience to not only not be successful and then come back and try again. Because I think, given the amount of time and effort and then it doesn't work out in your favor, which is fine, you go back to the community league, you go back, so that's a lot of resilience, and it speaks a lot to your willingness to want to help the community. But talk about the changes that you've seen in yourself from the campaign you ran in 2021 to the campaign you're currently running.
Well, I definitely learned a lot in 2021. I think I came into it with different ideas of how that would go, both during and obviously, honestly, afterwards too, obviously, right? But, you kind of, I said, you don't need you don't need to be any of these high titled people to serve. You can do, you can serve your community in many different ways, right? And so again, I had started serving my community for a couple of years prior to that election, in kind of bigger ways, and so going back to that, people kind of just kept seeing the work we did, and or I did, and kind of the connections we made within the community, and I think people responded positively that this time around, and are responding positively to it
Mm-hmm.
right now. So, truthfully, too, I mean, I didn't know if I wasn't 100% sure, after losing that I would run again. But I was definitely watching, and so the success of our council, and honestly, the success of our councilor is a success for the community. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't need to disparage the work that our incumbent has done, but I will say that there's pieces missing there for
Yeah,
sure.
there's definitely some work
So
to be done.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So and so I watched, and I tried to create connections and do what I could. I had to work with our incumbent as a community league president, and as she our counselor, to try to, like I said, make connections there and advocate still. And I think some of the concerns that had in 2021 are still there. Some frontline concerns with the city. Some of the specifics are missing in the decision making process, and again, just making sure that that community grounded voice is there.
Are you seeing the same feedback from door knocking now as you did in 2021? Is it kind of stayed consistent, or has there been new challenges that residents are facing?
Oh well, there's definitely new challenges that people are facing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a COVID year too.
Right.
It was very hard to create connections with community
Yeah, people were
during that.
probably pretty skittish in terms of wanting to have that like one-on-one connection or be like, you know, in the
The
same room as people.
the greatest thing you can do as a candidate is door knock and be in front of people,
That's
right? And
exactly
creating
what
those
I
connections, right?
yeah.
And so like, going to events is important too. And like if you can go to events and make connections there, that's a really big part of it as well. But like that individual connection, you can hear people talk. They can talk to you, they can ask questions. They can just make sure that their voices are heard.
How
Nothing
effective
beats it as a candidate. Nothing beats it. But I
yeah.
mean, honestly, like just on a personal level, it's something I've been looking forward to for 4 years.
Right.
So
Is now when you look at door knocking, it's interesting because again, it ties back into that resilience where how many people do you knock on their door? No answer, no answer, no answer. Or the person's like, yeah, I'm not voting, go away. Um, do you find that that's something that you kind of have to stay level in, like, oh, people are busy and like this and that, and it's not me, it's the fact that like there's a lot of other like things shrouded in politics that I'm kind of just trying to get out here and get my voice heard. But they're like, on a ratio, say every 10 doors you knock on, how many people are answering?
So I guess there's a couple of things there, right? And so people do have assumptions. They do. They ask me all the time. I mean, my banner, my colors are blue, and so they make certain assumptions
Oh, conservative.
about my political
Right.
leanings as well, right? And
Yeah.
um, they kind of come to the door with bias at
Mhm.
times. Um, some people don't, but some people do, right? And so I've heard that. Um, and so, but once you kind of make that connection, you can you can um you can make people understand that you're just a person there. You're just serving, right? And I've been an independent candidate in 2021. I continue to be an independent candidate now. Um, Part of that reasoning is, well, I don't really like political parties.
Yeah.
I think we're a little more deeper than that, a little more complex than that,
Yeah.
than just a color, just a political party, right? And honestly, what I want to do is serve the people, not a party. I
Mhm.
do worry about money in politics too. Being another one is those parties can raise twice as much money as our independent candidates can make.
Mhm.
And again, I want to make sure that my priorities are straight when I get into office. So, where was I going with that now? So, but
Did anybody ever reach
yeah.
out from those
So
political parties? Did anybody ever like reach out and try to like absorb you and be like, "Yo, run for us"?
I'm not going to
Okay,
comment on that.
fair enough. Fair
Right?
enough.
But I will say that I've held that line
Yeah,
as an independent.
fair.
I want to work with whoever's at the table. I really
Mhm.
do. And like I know the sixth. I know actually. I think I know most of the mayoral candidates right now.
Mhm.
I've sat around the table with the candidate Cartmel with community leagues. I've known Andrew Counselor Knack for a long time. I actually went to high school with his cousins.
Okay.
Um, uh, Michael Walters is somebody I've met in the last election because I was running the ward that he previously
Right.
represented. Raheem, Omar, all
Yeah.
these guys I've met, I've known, I've gone for coffee, and I gotta make sure that I can work with them. I will
Of
treat them
course.
differently, depending on who's there, but I
Yeah.
gotta make sure that I can have a good working
Yeah.
relationship, and that's part of this independence, um, this thing
Yeah.
that I've been building with this independent
Of course.
candidacy, right? So
Um.
I I don't think I answered your question.
No.
So
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 just
but
going back to like the door knocking.
yes, the door knocking. So yeah, I mean I've been kicked off a few doors. I will tell you, mostly in regards to um my opinion that Canada should stay whole. Alberta should stay in Canada, and
Mm.
there's definitely a an anti um there's
Do people
yeah
ask you
definitely a
that?
set.
Like, are
I've had
you a
about
separatist?
I've had
Like,
about 3 doors that have asked me that and asked me if I'm a separatist, and I will tell you that I'm not
no.
a separatist. I was born in Toronto. I have family in Ontario, Southern Ontario. I got family in BC. I'm a Canadian,
Yeah.
and
People are so weird. People.
well,
Some people are so.
but
It.
there is some frustrations. I get that too. It's kind of trying to find the where those frustrations are, where those pinch points are, and
Yeah.
trying to find the common ground. And again, that's why I've been acting as an independent, so that I can. People can't just assume one thing that you're NDP or you're conservative or
So we
whatever
all know
else,
what
right?
you're
Like,
about.
yeah, I mean, you can know what I'm about without knowing,
Mm-hmm.
or without kind of or attributing me to a color
Right.
to a party, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm more complex than that. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to engage with people,
Right.
and I want to hold on to that as much
Mm-hmm.
as I can. So I don't know where that's gonna go, but I'm very hopeful that this is a one and done thing with political parties. So
Why do you think there's such a disconnect in terms of, I want to say two things. There's a disconnect in two ways. One, education and municipal elections, and two, um, like involvement. Why do you think there's a disconnect there and people like you don't see like huge amounts of voter turnout. Nobody really cares. Nobody wants to vote. And then when they do, they don't necessarily know what like the job is or know what actually like they're voting on. Because even when I talk to like my friends and coworkers and I ask them like, are you going to be voting in these upcoming elections? And they ask me, oh, like conservative, liberal, and you're like, no, no, like, and it's just interesting because it's not that it's like a knock on them, but where does that start? Like, is that from the beginning? Did we lose it somewhere? And you've been in Edmonton for a long time. Like, has that fallen off or has that been consistent where you just never see good voter turnout?
Yeah, well, I mean, people. It's got, so two things that I hear at the doors a lot, especially in south of the Henday, is we need a hospital and we need more schools. Both of those things are provincial responsibilities. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's the ability for the city to make the conditions favorable for those builds, for
Mm-hmm.
those infrastructure projects, but at the end of the day, that requires provincial funding and likely
Right.
federal funding too.
Right.
Um, and so what I tell people is that you advocate for you do what you can, right? You do as a city official, you do what's in your mandate, what's in your purview. And then outside of that, you advocate.
Yeah. Provide the
And
best case possible.
yeah, and as I said, I have good relationships with our MLAs in the area. I mean, there's two MLAs that represent the ward, the area of the ward that I'm seeking to represent. There is, I think, there's two MPs that represent that same thing too, and I'm happy to work with them as well. I haven't met one of them, but I met the other one, and so I'm happy to work with all levels of government, and again, that's again maintaining that independence,
And
right? So
is MP, that would be provincial?
no, MP is the member of
Co-
parliament,
Right.
so MLAs are your member of legislative
Right.
assembly, and that's a provincial representative. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how like the hierarchy works. So you have like city
yeah.
councilors, mayor, then it's MLA, and then it's MP.
Well, those are the different levels, right? I
Right.
mean,
That's yeah.
everybody
Everybody has different
everybody
jobs
and
and
ideally
goals.
everybody's working together, right? There's
Right.
no like the mayor's not answering to the MLA or something,
No,
right? It's
it's
you
just
work,
different levels
you have
of.
different levels and you have different levels of responsibility, right?
Hmm.
And um so it's important to have good relationships with those folks. I mean, it's important to stand your ground too, and when there's creep, you definitely should be saying something
Hmm.
and working, advocating for yourself, advocating for your city or your province or your country, but
Hmm.
also looking for ways to collaborate.
Hmm.
And so when citizens in South Edmonton need a hospital and don't have one, when citizens have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get to a school, which is a lot of our kids at in Desrochers. I don't know if you know the neighborhoods of Desrochers.
I used to live in Graydon Hill,
Oh, okay, right
so
on, right on. Yeah, so you do know this. So big kids in McEwen right now, they go to school over in Roberta McAdams, K to 6 right now, right?
hmm.
After that, they have to go all the way up to Duggan, and
Right.
so DS Mackenzie is where they're going for junior high.
Right.
Kids in Paisley, Graydon Hill, um, Desrochers, they're all busing it up to Steinhauer
Right.
and Duggan and beyond to go to school too. Which is, I mean, when we're talking about walkable cities, and this is where the kind of the lines are blending here a little bit, but we're talking about walkable cities with complete access to all services like businesses, hospitals, doctors, and schools. It doesn't jive, right?
Yeah.
And so,
In Graydon Hill, you could see that there was a big separate, like, to get anywhere, it wasn't like a trek, but it was a little bit more like I can just walk to Walmart from here. It's not a
absolutely,
right, but
absolutely,
when I was in Graydon Hill, it's like if I didn't have a vehicle, I would be pretty hard pressed to like get anywhere,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, and walkable cities include transit too, right? And
Yeah.
transit options. I mean, my career has been in transit. I'll tell you that the Southwest is chronically underserved with transit, and on-demand service is not sufficient, in my opinion,
Hmm.
for the demand that's there. And I'm hearing that at the doors too. People are saying we need transit. My kid needs to get to school, to university,
Hmm.
to work, wherever they're going, and even people that are working would prefer to take that as an option, or have to take that as an option.
And how does
Uh,
that like when you look at growing transit, like what's the process in doing that? Because I feel like to do that, it's easier said than done, or the ways of actually constructing those routes or getting those services is that is that a big challenge, or is that something where we just don't have like the funding allocated or like the amount of like advocacy towards.
I think there's multiple issues there. So we need to make sure that our LRT lines and our rapid transit lines are. I mean, we don't have a lot of bus rapid transit in the city, but we have a little bit, but also our LRT lines are to the corners of the city, so that those are the main lines, and we're feeding into them.
Right.
Um, I'm pretty against privatization
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm the only progressive candidate, consider myself progressive candidate that is fully against privatization of our system. And so I'm pretty against the idea of on demand. I believe trains or buses should be on a route, scheduled, and delivered by
The
public servants
public service. Yeah.
working for the city of Edmonton,
Yeah.
right? And so something I found out last year was that the on demand service is not even collecting fares. So we're not collecting money on that. They're taking people to the buses where their fares are collected there, but we're not collecting money at that
Right.
level, right? And so we're not generating revenue from that, and it's more of a taxi service, and
Right.
I struggle to find the reliability in that. So
100%. And then going private, it's like that probably would increase the cost for the passengers, lower the pays for the employees,
well, I mean, if you're a private business,
cutting
like you're
costs.
cutting costs, right? And that's fine for certain sectors. For the public sector, transit's not a moneymaker, but indirectly, it definitely
Yeah,
contributes
when
to an
people
economy,
can't
right?
get to
So
work
people
and
need to get to work. People need to get out of
yeah.
the situations that they're in, right? They're trying to raise their profile, with education and all the rest, right? So it's definitely a giant part of our economy,
Yeah.
but indirectly, right? And so directly, it's not, right? But
So then seeing
so
that on paper, people just go,
no,
yeah,
absolutely, right?
right.
And so,
It's
but
no
it's
big
it's
deal.
it's an essential part of
Right.
city operations, right?
Everybody's
And so,
missing their buses ain't coming, they're losing their jobs because they're late for work or can't get to class or
no,
whatever it
absolutely.
is. And there's it and that, yeah, it's
Well, and there's a maintenance part there too, right? And
yeah.
so, I mean, our infrastructure, or well, just our equipment is aging too, and we're seeing that across the board. To be honest with you, I was talking to the Edmonton firefighters union recently and talking about their equipment. Recently, they were driving I heard they were driving a 1990s truck to an incident because they had their regular truck was
In repair.
not it was in
Yeah.
repair. Everything is aging out. Our trains
Yeah.
are definitely aging out, and we're not keeping up with the maintenance on those either, right? And so it's kind of a commitment to renewal, but also commitment to maintaining the equipment that we have. Our council actually was it last year or the year before denied a maintenance package on our train doors as well. And I'm getting a little in the weeds here with you, but like
Oh, that's okay.
our newer trains, our SD 160s, they were denied a door maintenance package. Seemed like a small line item, but it actually contributed to a lot more door problems, which affects our reliability, affects our on-time performance,
Puts
affects
trains out of
people's
service.
puts trains out of service, makes people lose connections. It kind of spirals there, right? And
Right.
so that's part of the maintenance of
And
our equipment.
yeah.
We need that. So to keep it going, keep it
Yeah.
moving, right? And so honestly, probably extend the life a little bit, but we also that's part of the equation, also the renewal part.
And when we
So,
talk about transit as well, because you have this like firsthand experience, where's where's your assessment of like transit safety and like perceived safety?
I was at a police information session recently, and the stats are showing a decrease across the city of safety issues. The only part of that that's not decreasing is LRT, according to the police, and that honestly reflects my experience as a worker. And so we have our LRT control system right on or LRT control center where I work right on the system, and so I've ever since COVID there has been safety concerns, and I've witnessed too much as a worker, as an operations guy. I'm not a social worker. I'm not police. I'm not security. I move trains along the thing, but I'm also myself and my operators and the inspectors that I work with. We're all seeing, you know, I personally witnessed stabbings and shootings and bear spray incidents. I've seen numerous drug poisonings. I've seen people in crisis, and so it's left me a little bit traumatized. It's left my staff traumatized.
Makes
I've
it hard
lost
to
staff.
encourage someone to take a bus or train.
It does. Well, and especially the trains, right? And
Yeah.
so I think my perception is that bus safety is getting better. The train system is still having those challenges still. And so, like, I mean, again, I want trains. I love trains. I want trains everywhere, and I think it's an important essential piece of the equation when we're talking about transit and moving people and making sure that people can get to A to B um, and honestly densifying the city and just an essential part of this transportation network, right? But it's got to be safe to be successful.
And
And
where do you see like what's falling through the cracks? Is it
well, I mean, there's lots of things there, right? Like, so
right,
there's 5,000 people living on the streets right now, right? And
right.
so, and that's people living vulnerably and in crisis. And so, a they that those people are trying to find somewhere to go
Yeah, shelters
because
are packed.
they're packed and there's not a lot of free spaces to just exist in, right? And so, especially in the winter months, they find themselves there, right? And so, and when you have that many people living in crisis in a city such as ours with not a lot of places to go, it creates the environment for people that are not there to do good things or looking for their own safety, right? So,
Right.
and causing some challenges with criminality as well.
Right.
So, I think you need to make sure that we're helping the people that need to be helped. And that's something I've been trying to get across with my work in street outreach. As I said, I didn't have a lot of tools when we were going through COVID as a worker on the system. Actually, I was out in the field during that time, and so like again, it's going with that again too. But it's you gotta humanize people. You gotta find connection, and you gotta help the people that need to be helped and want help, right? And then I think once you do that, and I mean then and that starts with housing, supportive housing, wraparound services, all the rest. Once you do that, I think you can find ways to. I think there's the enforcement angle for the people that are there
Doing bad
doing the
actors.
things that are bad actors, right? And so and they're there. I mean, we can't deny it. And so and again, I've lost staff because of it. I've had people go off on leave because of it. I've experienced my own trauma as well around that too, and had to make sense of that. And so I think we can be serious about both things. So I think there's some engineered solutions too in regards to our stations, and I think we need to be serious about that as well. So
Yeah, and going back to like specifically your ward, that do you start to see that kind of sprawl, like it, being so far south? Like you look at like homelessness and that type of thing. Is that something that's like bi- it, I don't want to make assumptions because you just don't know where people are at. But like, is that a big problem in your ward?
I think we're seeing it across the city
Yeah,
now. So,
yeah,
and as the train comes down to us in Heritage Valley, Twin Brooks, I'm hearing a lot of concerns. There was a big pushback against having a station in Twin Brooks. That's an essential amenity, right? Like that should make people's lives easier. But the fear is that it's going to bring in crime and disorder and people in crisis and all the rest,
well, there
right?
was a
And so,
proposal for like a safe injection site, and people like they wanted to put it more in the south end, or maybe it was in like St. Albert or something. But it was near like that St. Albert west side there. But people didn't want it because they said, well, now you're kind of like spreading everything out. So if we just keep the safe injection sites downtown, then the homeless people will stay downtown. But it's
it is a large burden on a small area. When McCauley's been kind of been a space for that.
But it's interesting because you still want to be able to
So-
provide those services, and then what if someone's at risk in that area? They just have nothing.
No, well, and that's it. I mean, that's the whole thing about the tents too. Is that the tent cities that were going up for a long time there, is that people were finding community, right? And so I mean, you spread people out. I mean, I think it reduces the burden on a particular area, but also then you lose community, right? And big part of why people were staying in tents in little tent cities is and the trauma that they experienced when they were torn down was that there was community there and that was lost. And so I think going forward, accounting for that is important as well. But understanding that it's a huge burden for a little area in one neighborhood as well.
Do you think you have when you look at like how you interact with people, do you think that is like advantage that you might have over other counselors because you have a very like down to earth kind of perspective? in terms of working in the field that you worked in, where you're constantly like engaging with every walks of life?
I think that's been a major thing missing with our council. We have a lot of, you know what, we have a lot of
For-
really compassionate counselors,
Yeah.
good policymakers, big ideas, totally cool. I'd be honored to work with any of them. And so, but I think what's been missing for me again has been the specifics, been the ground level voices. Um, Somebody honestly to bring some accountability on that front,
Mhm.
and just make sure that those voices are heard as well. And so I'm not here to disparage anybody, but
No,
I
of
do
course. Yeah.
I do want to make sure that that's
No, I did.
that's heard.
Yeah.
So, and like reasonable, right? And again, that's why I built a big tent, is because again, it's I'm not always going to agree with everybody that's in my ward, but I want to make sure that they're heard,
Right.
and I want to make sure that where can we come together, um, and not and make sure that people feel included in the process. I don't think the city's done a great job on that, to be honest with you, that
Mhm.
engagement process in the past. Whether it's administration or council or whatever, it's sometimes we push through things. We've gone to the table when decisions have already been made, and people have felt left out. I think that's a big issue. Is that if we want to make some major changes in the city, people have to feel like they've been heard, they've been engaged meaningfully, not just superficially, not just the checkbox come off.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so that's what I bring.
Yeah. And with the growing area of the South End, we kind of we discussed previously about like traffic and roads and uh that issue, and it kind of all ties into transit as well, because if we don't have the infrastructure to actually get these cars and vehicles and buses through, and there's huge amounts of like bottleneck, um then we're gonna have the same problem. um where has that been on like your list of priorities in terms
I
of?
think transportation infrastructure is a huge thing in Southwest Edmonton, especially south of the Henday. Um, we got bottlenecks everywhere right now, and 41 Ave being like
Ellerslie.
the biggest thing for me right now, but Ellerslie too, right? Like
Yeah.
Ellerslie, they're twitting right now. They're twitting from your old neighborhood, Graydon Hill, to pass the bridge that goes
Hmm.
towards Windermere. But they're not going all the way to Windermere. They're not going all the way to Rabbit Hill. And so we're
No.
just kind of moving that bottleneck further and further down.
Yeah.
41 Ave, they just renewed a section on 170th Street, did some upgrades. But the real problem is that there's so much traffic there that people are backed up. Like it takes for people to get out of Chappelle and Paisley and Jaeger Ridge and all these neighborhoods. I mean, you here
Yeah.
at the Great
To make a
Hill, it's
right turn, it took
half.
10 minutes.
Yeah, half your commute is just getting out of your own neighborhood,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, I think we need to be, building out our communities like with density in mind. Density is totally cool as long as we have the infrastructure to back it up.
Hmm.
And we just do not have the infrastructure to back it up right now. And so we need to kind of flip the script on how we're building these communities out. If we're building out a twinned 41 Ave before the community gets there, then that's maybe what we need to be thinking about. And as we go further south, because I mean, I'm not a big guy for sprawl. I do think we should be building up and out, but I'm also realistic in knowing that the city has annexed
Uh-huh.
all the land out to the airport.
Right.
There's a lot of infrastructure there that's right now that's not sufficient for now some of the traffic we're seeing. We're seeing because of that 41 Ave being two lanes. We're seeing people cutting through neighborhoods like
Hmm.
Allard too fast. We're seeing people going through the country roads now. Those are getting all chewed up and torn up, and that's actually costing us a lot more money with maintenance operations going on too.
Right.
I've been talking to some of the tree guys, the arborists that are having to deal with way more stock in trees
Uh-huh.
out there further south, without the extra manpower as well. And so
Right.
um, it's kind of different from roads, I guess. But
Still.
but anyways, I guess hopefully you get what I'm kind of getting at there.
Yeah.
But we're not building with kind of we're very reactionary, I guess,
And
in
is
that.
there
So
is there like a threshold that is realistic to a resident of like what's the amount of pain that I should feel for the benefit that I'm gonna get? So say we're twinning these roads. it's like, well, how long are we going to do this construction, or how long is this going to take? And where are we going to see this benefit, right? That's like one thing, like when I think of construction, where it's like, that's also a pain in the butt,
Yep.
So is there amount of,
Well, I mean, those
initiative against incentivizing, like where's the payoff for like the residents, right? And how long does that actually take to get that reward?
yeah. Well, I mean, that 41 app should have been done prior
Right.
to
When
the
there
amount
was
of
less
people.
traffic.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So, in preparation for the amount of people that have moved out there. I mean, you can't tell the future, honestly, but I mean, we can't
Right.
look ahead and know. I mean, reducing traffic is twinning roads is not the only way to do that. I mean,
Right.
you know, having good transit is another way to reduce congestion as well, and having our LRT go all the way down to Desrochers as planned is part of that equation as well. Having multimodal pathways where people can choose to walk or bike or whatever else, those are part of the equation as well, right? But we still have a lot of people driving right now, and so I think as we're building out communities, we start with that, and then we bring in some of these other things as things catch up as well. So, because again, we're just seeing, I'm seeing a lot of unsafe behavior now too.
Right.
As I walk these neighborhoods, I'm walking Allard and I'm walking Desrochers, and I'm seeing people cut through. I mean, I even cut through neighborhoods because I'm just like,
Yeah, because it's just so much.
there's just so much traffic, so many pinch points, and honestly, again, people kind of are cutting corners to get where they're going. They're getting frustrated, so they're speeding a little more than they should be in
Right.
neighborhoods. And I do worry about people's safety. We had a little
100%.
boy that was killed in Allard last year in that neighborhood, and the infrastructure is not there.
So when we look at say the time comes you get elected, where do we look at like your priorities in terms of what you're trying to accomplish? And what is like your timeline with that?
So our transportation network in the Southwest is probably going to be priority number one at this point. So and that includes the roads, that includes transit, getting proper transit through the area, supporting the growth of our LRT, making sure that stays on time as well, coming down to Heritage Valley, and then looking forward to the further growth down to Desrochers as well. And so, if I can accomplish that in 4 years, I mean, just getting that train, making sure that train gets to Heritage Valley and is operational by, we're in 2025, it's due in 2029, so that's the next election time. I would feel very, very good. I'd feel very good about having that 41 Ave twinned as well, making sure that network is, that roadway is handling the capacity that's there right now. The continued growth of our multimodal pathways through the area as well is going to be essential as well, to make sure that people have the options to get around.
That's like some of the small wins. Like what are
those?
like,
Well,
when
those
you
are
look
big
at-
wins, to be honest with you.
So when you look at like
neighbors in
small
Heritage
wins, and
Valley.
when I say small wins, I mean like within the year of getting elected.
Within the year of getting elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that would be like, for me, that would be what I consider like a small win. And then when you look at like overall growth, like that's probably going to take a full election cycle to actually get it done, get everything approved, budgeting. But what do you think?
Well, I think that would be the. I mean, those are going to be the big focuses.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, the little wins will be the engagement pieces.
Yeah.
Making sure people are heard. Kind of flipping the script on how that's done as well. Empowering community leagues and these community organizations to feel like they're being heard and engaged in the process. They really felt left out of that, and so.
What would you say your strategy is when you're looking at like building trust in a community? Do you have like specific routines or habits that you do to ensure that like you're gonna actually be able to fall back on your word? And because sometimes it's all just like hot air, right? For some people, you're like, this dude is not even here.
Well, so I'll tell you, I've already started building out my calendar for after the election in the anticipation that we win this.
Right.
And so, that calendar is starting to look like a lot of community league events, a lot of AGMs. I know that was it. Twin Brooks has a upcoming AGM. Paisley is looking at building or becoming a community league. They're not currently represented,
Mhm.
and so they have a meeting in November that I've got on my calendar now too, and just making sure that I'm showing up to these things that are already community led. They're already happening. Making sure that they're representative, if I'm so lucky to be the elected
Of
official,
course.
is there. And so
Right.
I've already kind of anticipating what that calendar looks like, in addition to the council uh,
Meetings.
meetings and schedules and all the other responsibilities that are there.
Mhm.
So
Is there going to be any like changes that you would want to make to give more feedback to the community? Because you see some of the areas where you look at like excessive infill, a lot of the residents don't necessarily get a say, or they don't get a like a you
well,
know
I guess yeah, you talk
and what
about
is the what would be the process in actually doing that in terms of making sure that people have feedback before permits get approved, or
mhm.
these huge buildings, or someone's tearing down a 3-bedroom bungalow and putting it in a sixplex.
Well, I think there's deep concerns, and I think there's some challenges there that are going to take a little while to solve
Hmm.
in terms of some of the things you just highlighted there. But I think in terms of, if we're going to talk about infill, which we can talk about infill for
Hmm.
sure, I don't hear a lot about it at the doors because most of my ward is fairly new and
Right.
fairly dense, and we're
Yeah,
not
you're
seeing
not
that yet.
seeing them like build it. Yeah, you're seeing
But
this more in like Calder and some of these
yeah,
more
but
established neighborhoods.
we're right on the border though too, right? And so
Right.
my ward goes all the way up to 34 Ave. Greenfield is just on the north side of that. They're definitely having some seeing some of that infill work going on, right?
Hmm.
And honestly, again, infill is good. Again, we want to build up, not out. But I think we can have some some regulations, some restrictions, some rules about what goes where, right? And so an 8-plex or a 16-plex may not go in a cul-de-sac, but
Hmm.
it definitely could be on 109th Street on
Yeah,
your way
like
up
a
the way
main
down, right?
artery.
Like a main
Yeah.
artery, right? And something people talk to me about parking issues all the time with infill, right? And so it's like I'm not sure we need a parking
Yeah, you don't.
minimum,
Yeah.
but if you don't, do you have good transit, right? And do you have access to other modes of transportation? Because not everybody drives. Not
Hmm.
everybody drives. I mean, I grew up, with probably on the lower income side of the equation, I guess, and or the spectrum. And I know we didn't always have a car, and
Hmm.
so how do we get around, right? And so we walked or busted or we biked. So just making sure that that other piece of the equation is there, and I think that's what's been missing for me and my frustrations is like we're having recently we talked like within this last term, council has talked a lot about walkable cities, right? And now we're talking about infills, and those both can be work hand in hand,
Hmm.
but they need to work hand in hand.
And if
Like you
they
need to,
don't, one bleeds into the rest. Now we have two problems.
yeah, right. And so there's a project going on in Kahiwan right now, that is infill that's taking up some of the playground space. Um, it's an old school, or
Right.
an old school space land. It's not an old school. There wasn't a school there yet, but it was destined to that. That didn't happen, so now it's going to an infill project to house people. People need homes. Totally
Right.
good, right? And stuff. But people are worried about parking, right? And so I'm not sure that transit component, you know, is kept up, right? Like we're kind of thinking about that. If we don't, again, if we don't have parking, do we have good transit? I'm not sure the waste issue is solved yet either, and I'm hearing that from people in waste that's not um, been
And is
solved.
this just the amount that the communities are just building so fast, or is it like where? Because you see all of these like infrastructural things like falling out, and it's like where are we just growing too fast? Like
Well,
that you just
obviously we're going. I mean, we
right.
got a lot of people coming in the
We're
country. We
just
got a lot of people coming to Alberta. Got a lot of people moving to Edmonton, right? And
right.
that's going to happen. That's for sure, right? And
But
so,
and the thing is, it's like you can't slow it down too much, because if you slow it down too much, the prices just skyrocket. Like right now, the average price of an apartment is $1,600 a
well,
month.
absolutely, right?
So like, how do we stabilize it, but also not like totally like freeze everything? Because then you're gonna see this huge influx of residents nowhere to live, and then it just becomes this like you know, feeding frenzy on people just trying to get in, and then they jack up the rates and everything becomes a whole hullabaloo.
The concerns I'm hearing about infill are solvable issues.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to do them
Yeah.
and actually commit to that, right?
Mhm.
So again, parking, waste. I think the utilities thing is probably overblown. My understanding of utilities now is that many of our neighborhoods are overbuilt for that, anyways.
Right.
And with the advent of newer technologies, low flow toilets, stuff like that, I think we're probably okay. But I mean, people still have concerns about that stuff, right? So it's meaningfully engaging them in places like community leagues.
Mhm. Yeah, how do you have
And
that
just actually,
conversations with, like, how are you able to tell someone, like, no or not yet? And how do you do that gracefully?
well, I mean, you come where people are, right?
Mhm.
You be where people are. So one of the things actually, so I started, sorry, going back to 2021, I
Mhm.
sat down with counselor at the time, Counselor Walters, who's now mayoral candidate, and he told me this is an issue here with the community. Is this Kihiwan development, right? And um, so I knew it was coming, and I had heard a little bit about it at the doors, some frustrations there, and then it was radio silence for 4 years. No, nothing happened. No shovels in the ground. No communications with people. I started door knocking there again, and I had started having people ask me about that project, and I didn't have any answers because there was radio silence.
Mhm.
My nephew goes to that school that's right beside it. My
Right.
sister-in-law lives in the neighborhood. I'm in that neighborhood quite a bit, and she hadn't heard anything about it. And then, like a couple months later, into my door knocking, she sent me a message saying that they're doing an outreach event for this project at the school. And so I was like, great. Now I'll tell people about it. People will know and people can come. And so we got there. I went there myself too, and it was a nice event for sure. But it was all, this is what's happening. So 4 years after that initial that I initially heard about it, 4 years radio silence, and all of a sudden shovels in the ground. I don't think that's meaningful engagement. I don't think
Mhm.
people feel part of the process. I want projects like this to be successful.
Yeah.
I want people to be housed. But I also want people to be engaged. And I want people to get behind it. And even if they're not behind it, I want them to feel like at least they've been heard
Mhm.
and they're part of the process meaningfully, not like not flippantly,
No.
not
No, we're just gonna do it anyway, we really
yeah,
don't care.
no, absolutely, right? And so you're not going to get people behind these things, and just dismissing people as NIMBYs or whatever else is not fair to them either. And so,
Mhm.
again, the issues that I hear with some of these projects, I mean, there's some things that I'm not sure are as legitimate in terms of like bringing in people that are less savory. I think people need houses, and I think people are generally good,
Mhm.
right? But things like parking, things like roadway capacity, things like waste, um, things like even just removing green space.
Yeah.
Green space is in that area. There's a lot of green space. I've coached a lot of soccer on that field,
Mhm.
but Sky Rattler being another one in that area in this ward that was about to lose some green space because of it, and that was their only green space that they had
Right.
access to, right? And so, 15-minute cities, it's a dirty word,
Yeah.
walkable cities is we need schools and we need services. We also need playgrounds. We also need places for people to
Mhm.
exist freely, get together, have picnics,
Mhm.
play sports, stuff like that,
Right.
right? So that's also part of the equation. So I just like, again, just meaningfully engaging people and understanding those concerns. So
And I'm sure some part about it too is just like grounding people in realism of like, this is what I actually can accomplish. And like what you're asking for is actually, this guy actually has something more to do with that, or the MLA or the province, or it's a federal thing, without dismissing them and like kind of taking them through the process of being like, yeah, what you're saying really isn't like my responsibility, without like diminishing your role or like losing credibility. Is that like a gauge that you have with like keeping people like realistic, or being like fluid with people to make sure that they're like aware of what your tasks are?
well, going back to what I said earlier, right? I mean, the beautiful thing of municipal politics at least up till now has been that we are independent, whether we have party backing in behind the scenes, and I think we're still seeing that,
Mm-hmm.
or not. is another thing, but we can work across levels of government and across party politics
Mm-hmm.
and party lines, right? And so this is why I've stayed independent.
Right.
And you don't see me taking pictures or even door knocking, honestly, with representatives from other levels of government. Um, you know, I really value those relationships that I built with those other representatives,
Mm-hmm.
but I need people to know that they are able to talk to me,
Yeah.
whether they support the NDP or the UCP or the Conservatives or the
Yeah.
Liberals or anybody, right? Like, they need to be able to see themselves in the work that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm prioritizing their voices, right? And so again, if it is not my responsibility, I need to be able to say, hey, here's your connection with your MLA.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go talk to them. Let's have a little communication there, and maybe I pass them along to them, and then I ask, can you come back and let me know how that goes? What else do we need to do to get this thing further
Right.
along? So, it's really important to me.
And how do you plan on like sustaining this over a 4-year period? Is there daily habits that you have in place for yourself to make sure that you're like putting your best foot forward and you're like not gonna have any issues with burnout or kind of because it is a lot, right? Like it
Yeah,
is a lot. And
counselors, and I know a number of the counselors that are on council right now. It's an 80 to 100-hour job, or
right.
hour a week job, like, for sure.
Yeah.
It's underappreciated how much our counselors do, because they're not only at meetings, they're not only at council, they're also at events. They're also representing the city and wherever they can, and then they go home and they answer emails for hours,
Mm-hmm.
and
Reading
they're running
300-page briefs and
300-page. Yeah, if they're
at
lucky.
minimum.
At minimum, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're expected to be knowledgeable for the next day of what's coming up. So, I've been doing it already. I work full time. So I'm lucky to have a 3-day work week. I work 12-hour days
Mm-hmm.
with LRT. So sometimes I'm working Sunday to Tuesday or something. In my off hours, I've already been serving the community. Honestly already been doing a lot of this stuff. So in my off hours, I'm volunteering with community leagues, with soccer coaching, with street outreach,
Right.
doing whatever I can to serve my community. So my week right now, and I'm also a dad. I'm a husband too, right?
Yeah.
So my week right now is probably equivalent to what I would
What a
be
yeah.
expecting, right? And so, um, I'm anticipating an equal amount of workload. That said, this does this work is definitely a strain, and especially this election. Campaigning is definitely a strain on the family, right? So, I mean, I'll tell anybody that's running for council or any level of government, prioritize your friends, prioritize your family when you can, even if it's just a couple hours a week, or, like, you got half an hour to sit and exist with your partner or your
Mm-hmm.
kids, watch a show. I know my oldest and I watch a lot of Walking Dead
Mm-hmm.
together, right? And some superhero shows. I watch a lot of anime with my youngest, and just try to prioritize some of that
Mm-hmm.
alone time, without phones as well, right? And so, just, yeah, because
What
it will. I mean, whether you're doing volunteering like I was doing and working, or doing this, you got to make sure that there's also time for yourself.
yeah.
So, I've not always done a great job of it, but I try, and that's something I've told my community league people too. Is like, you do what you can, forgive yourself for what you can't.
Of
So,
course. And when you look at balancing your time, have there been a different allocation of ways that you're campaigning this time around as opposed to last time around? Was there things that you found out like this this wasn't really as effective and I sunk a lot of time into it and it didn't really work? Whereas maybe this time around, like door walking got 10% more than it did last time around.
yeah, I mean, I've definitely hit way more doors this time. I started way earlier too.
Mm.
So I was actually the very first candidate for council, mayor, or trustee to put my paperwork in. So I put my paperwork in as soon as I could, not November 1st. And so, you'll see my disclosure been put in at that time, right? And
Right.
then I actually became a candidate for ward at Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi. It was the first one to do that too, on January 2nd. So my name should be right at the top of the list, right? And so, last election, I didn't put my name in until June.
Right.
And so the other candidates had a pretty good head start. And so, but again, it's that, getting out there, being at events, being visible, and that's what I prioritize. Again, it's a different election now. This is more of a normal election versus last election
This
where
was
we couldn't
COVID.
make those. Yeah, COVID times, you couldn't create those face to face connections like you can now. And
Hmm.
so I'm very fortunate this time to be able to run again
Of course.
and meet people. So face to face.
And before we get you out of here, I want to say I'm super grateful to have this conversation. I think the expertise that you have is very nuanced, and you can provide a lot more. You can provide a little niche area that can be, very useful to the entirety of the city, based on your 18, 20 years experience, with transit and all the different roles that you had, as well as your resilience and your ability to stay grounded and, establish that trust and have this existing connection with your community. It's very wholesome. And I think that that's really huge that you're humanizing people and you're willing to be that conduit for, uh, people that are looking to have a little bit more trust in their city council and, break down those walls a bit and, uh, give people more of a voice and, be there for them, especially staying independent. So I just want to express my gratitude in coming on the show and, you know giving us the ability to interview you. um, Finishing off, I want to leave you the opportunity to, to pose the question or statement. If people don't listen to this hour and etc. long conversation, and, all they really see is your name on a ballot, what would you kind of want to leave them off with?
Sorry, in terms of
So, what would be like, just, give me your,
my elevator pitch.
yeah, your 60 to 97 90-second,
Yeah,
platform of,
absolutely,
your
absolutely.
sound bite.
So in South Edmonton, there's three issues. I've been door knocking for just about a year now. I've heard from like 15. I've hit 15,000 doors, talked to thousands of people. I've been in dozens of events. What I'm hearing right now, safety is a big one, infrastructure is a big one, and affordability is a big one. Um, we're all going to probably promise you similar things on that front. It's who's going to get them done, right? And so, who has the knowledge of the inner workings of the city? Who's built the relationships in the community? Who's built the relationships in the city to be able to do this, right? And so, um, I have built those relationships. I have done that work. I have served my community for a long time. I've worked in my field for a long time. I have the support of the workers that I work alongside, um, that honestly report to me, and that's a big one for me too. Not only having the support of my community, but also the support of the people that my colleagues are, right. And so, um, I think that means a lot and it stands for something. And so, and I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna lean on that a little bit here. You know, having the ATU, the Amalgamated Transit Union endorsement as a manager, um, is, they went out on a limb and they went against their relationships with the other unions to endorse me, and because A, they believe in me, and B, because we have that working relationship that is good, that's full of respect, and is and honestly gets things done. We move trains. We do the job, um, in a way that, you know Edmontonians see and can appreciate, and that workers feel heard. I'm going to bring that to city council. So,
Where can people find you if they want to support you and follow everything you have going on?
so my website is jonmorgan.ca. You can check that out. There's places to volunteer. There's places to donate. There's places to get a sign. You can see some of my platform there. Again, affordability, infrastructure, safety, all key things here in this election, and just respecting that, those needs, going forward. So that's what I'll be advocating for
Yeah.
on a big picture scale. So
And I think on your website you also say you attend the farmers market as well.
You know what? The farmer market is closed for the season now. So September 28 was the last day that we could do
Dang.
that. I was very lucky to be hosted there all season long. I built a pretty good relationship with the showrunner, who's actually a Canada Post worker as well. And honestly, unfortunately, kind of having some labor issues there right
Yeah, of
now.
course.
But I definitely stand with him and the work that he does as a frontline worker myself, right? And so,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I'm not there, but you can definitely check out our social media too, and I
Yeah,
appreciate that as well. So Jon Morgan Yeg across platforms.
of course.
We're on the TikTok, on the
Hmm.
Instagram, on the Facebook. I'm not so much on X, but I do, or I'm not calling it X. I'm calling it Twitter,
Hmm.
and I'll always call it Twitter. But I'm on there as well. I don't really use it that much. I'm on the
YouTube.
butterfly one, YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well. Um, yeah, it's important to stay engaged with
Yeah,
people in whatever
and we'll
whatever forum they're on. So
put everything in the description below. Yeah, we'll have everything links in the description below. Check it out. If you like the conversations that we're having like this today, be sure to like, subscribe, check out some of our videos with our other candidates. Election is coming up. 7th to 11th is advanced polling.
yeah, get out there early. So
Yeah.
advanced polling for us is October 7th to 11th, 12 to 8. And it's at Blue Quill Community League.
Okay.
So, but I think this is actually being broadcast after the fact, isn't it? You said,
Yeah, this will
yeah,
be coming out on this will be coming out on the 14th.
on the 14th.
So
So by then,
you should have already voted.
hopefully you've already voted.
If not,
If not,
get
October
on
20th.
October
And
20th.
we actually have on our website, you're probably not going to be getting, due to the postal strike, you're not going to get the cards that you normally get.
Right.
So, but if you were wondering where to vote, it's on the city's website, Edmonton Elections, but you could also check out our website, jonmorgan.ca/vote, and that'll link you to where to go, where to find your polling station in your neck of the woods, whether you're in Ward Ipiihkoohkanipiaohtsi or you're in Ward Anilneek, like you are here. I
Mhm.
believe you are. That's
Yeah.
your ward here, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Get out there, vote.
yeah, absolutely. It's important. Get your voice out. This is the most. It's not. I said I earlier called community leagues the most purest form of democracy. I mean, this is probably the most consequential form of democracy,
Yeah,
right? This is your roads. This is your police. This is your fire. This is your transit.
closest impact to the residents for sure.
Absolutely, this is your daily life.
Mhm.
Is this level of government? So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Get out there, vote. Check out Jon Morgan on all the platforms below. And this has been another episode of Solo Spotlight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you with another episode next week.
thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.